There comes a moment in life that feels like the sun piercing through thick, lingering clouds. A moment when everything, for a brief and powerful instant, clicks into place. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's a quiet unfolding, a whisper in the silence of our thoughts that says, "This is it." The fog lifts, not because the problems have vanished, but because our perception has shifted. That inner clarity, the deep recognition of our path, our purpose, and the reason behind all the confusion, is something we all crave, even if we don't realize it. It's a moment that doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's often born from deep introspection, painful challenges, and courageous vulnerability. Buddhism teaches us that the truth is always present, but our minds are often too clouded by delusion, attachment, and fear to see it. When the fog lifts, what we see is not something new. It has always been there, waiting patiently for us to arrive at its doorstep. We've all walked through those phases in life where we feel utterly lost. No matter how successful we appear on the outside or how much we try to convince ourselves that things are fine, inside we feel like we are drifting. It's like we're trapped in a dense, shadowy forest, unable to see the path ahead. In Buddhist terms, this is dukkha, a state of suffering or unsatisfactoriness. It's not always intense agony. Sometimes it's a dull, nagging discomfort, a restlessness that reminds us something isn't quite right. The Buddha acknowledged that this sense of unease is an inescapable part of human existence. But rather than viewing it as a flaw, he saw it as a doorway, a signal that something within us is ready to awaken. Often, the trigger for this awakening is change. Life, by its very nature, is impermanent, as the Buddha described. A job we've held for years suddenly ends. A relationship we thought would last forever dissolves. A loved one passes away, and we are left grappling with a void we can't fill. Or sometimes, it's the opposite. Nothing seems to change. We wake up, go through the motions, and end the day with the unsettling feeling that we're merely existing, not living. This monotony, too, can be a powerful catalyst. It's in these still, stagnant moments that we're forced to ask deeper questions. Who am I beyond these roles I play? What do I truly want from this life? What is the nature of this existence? In our desperation to escape discomfort, we often try to suppress these questions. We immerse ourselves in distractions, work, entertainment, social media, substances, anything that will keep the uncomfortable thoughts at bay. But the Buddhist path invites us to do the opposite. Instead of running away, we are asked to sit with our discomfort. We are encouraged to turn toward our suffering with compassion and curiosity. What is this pain trying to teach me? What is it pointing to? In meditation, for example, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. We begin to see that they are not permanent fixtures, but passing clouds in the sky of awareness. When we stop resisting, something remarkable happens. Clarity begins to emerge, not as a lightning bolt of understanding, but as a gradual softening, a deepening sense of presence. It's important to understand that this journey to clarity is not linear. We don't suddenly wake up one day with all the answers. There are relapses, setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when the fog returns thicker than ever. But each time we find the courage to sit with ourselves, to listen deeply, we move a little closer to our inner truth. The Buddha spoke of this process as walking the middle way, not swinging between extremes of indulgence and denial, but choosing a path of balance, mindfulness, and inner harmony. When we live in alignment with this path, our actions become more intentional, our thoughts more compassionate, and our lives more meaningful. Discovering one's passion and purpose often feels like unearthing a hidden treasure. For many, it starts with a subtle pull, a curiosity, a longing, a dream we tucked away because it seemed impractical or foolish. When we begin to honor these inner nudges, we begin to realign with our dharma, our true nature, our rightful path. In Buddhist thought, dharma is both the teachings of the Buddha and the universal truth that sustains all of life. To live in accordance with one's dharma is to live in harmony with the flow of the universe. This doesn't mean that every day is easy or joyful, but it does mean that even our struggles become meaningful. We see failures not as ends, but as necessary detours. We begin to trust that everything, even our pain, has a purpose. One of the most liberating realizations on this journey is accepting that we don't need to have it all figured out. In fact, clinging to the idea that we must have all the answers often creates more suffering. The mind seeks certainty, but the truth of life is uncertainty. When we learn to make peace with the unknown, we tap into a deeper form of wisdom, one that is not based on facts or logic, but on presence and trust. In Zen Buddhism, there is a concept known as beginner's mind, approaching life with openness, eagerness, and a lack of preconceptions. With beginner's mind, every moment becomes a teacher. Every experience, no matter how mundane, becomes an opportunity for awakening. Letting go of the need for external validation is a profound step on this path. Many of us grow up believing that our worth is tied to our achievements, our appearances, or the approval of others. This belief creates a fragile sense of self that is easily shattered. But through practice, we begin to recognize that our true self is not something that can be measured or defined. It is not dependent on accolades, status, or praise. Our true self is the silent awareness beneath all thoughts, the still point in the chaos, the unchanging presence in the midst of change. When we touch this space, even briefly, we experience a deep sense of peace and wholeness. We realize that we are already enough. In Buddhist philosophy, this recognition is closely related to the concept of anatta, or non-self. It means that the self we cling to, our name, our story, our ego, is not a fixed entity. It's a collection of impermanent elements, constantly changing and evolving. This can be a frightening idea at first, but it is ultimately freeing. It means that we are not bound by our past, our mistakes, or even our current limitations. We can grow. We can change. We can transcend. This insight allows us to engage with life more fully, without the fear of failure or rejection holding us back. The journey to clarity is not reserved for the spiritually elite or the exceptionally wise. It is available to all of us, in every moment. It doesn't require perfect conditions or complete solitude. Sometimes clarity arrives while we're washing dishes, taking a walk, or sitting quietly before bed. It often comes when we least expect it, when a mind is still and the heart is open. The key is to cultivate the conditions for clarity to arise. This means living mindfully, practicing gratitude, being honest with ourselves, and staying connected to our inner world. When we live in this way, we naturally begin to align with the truth. And when we align with the truth, clarity is inevitable. Another important aspect of the Buddhist path is compassion. As we deepen our understanding of ourselves, we naturally develop more empathy for others. We realize that everyone is struggling in some way, searching for meaning, wrestling with their own doubts and fears. This shared humanity becomes a source of connection rather than division. Compassion allows us to support one another on this journey. It reminds us that we are not alone, and that by helping others, we also help ourselves. In the words of the Dalai Lama, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. There is something profoundly beautiful about walking this path, not because it is easy, but because it is real. Each step brings us closer to the truth of who we are. Each moment of awareness is a step out of the fog. With time, patience, and practice, we begin to see life not as a problem to be solved, but as a mystery to be lived. We stop seeking perfection and start embracing presence. We stop striving for control and start cultivating trust. We understand that every experience, pleasant or painful, is part of our unfolding. And in this understanding, we find peace. So if you are in that place of confusion, if life feels like a tangled mess and you're searching for answers, take heart. This is not the end of your story. It may be the very beginning. The discomfort you feel is not a punishment. It's an invitation. An invitation to pause, to listen, and to awaken. The path is not outside of you. It is within. And the clarity you seek is not in the distance. It is waiting patiently in the quiet center of your being, ready to reveal itself when you are ready to receive it.